And our thanks to Brian Lloyd, Jeremy Larson for joining us earlier in the show. We encourage you to stop by Corvallis Furniture on 9th Street, right here in Corvallis. Sign up for your chance to win the best seat in the house contest. You and a friend can watch the Civil War in style this Sunday at 5:30 at Gill Coliseum as the OSU women's basketball team takes on Oregon. You can watch it from the best seat in the house. Compliments of our friends at Corvallis Furniture on 9th Street. And to preview the upcoming Civil War games, to talk about some good basketball played, again, by the Beavers on the road this past weekend in the Bay Area, we welcome OSU women's basketball assistant coach Krista Reinking to Beaver Sports Talk. Good evening, Coach.
Good evening.
You know, I say good basketball with utmost sincerity because you did play a lot of very good basketball against two ranked teams on the road. And I don't know how you and Coach Wagner and the staff measure progress and growth this year in the team. You know, with such a young team and depth challenge, you believe you take the floor, you can beat anybody, so maybe that's an ultimate barometer. But going on the road playing two ranked teams in Cal and Stanford, would you concur that your team played a lot of good basketball this weekend?
There's no question that we did play some good basketball this weekend, and one of the things that we try and do as a staff is just prepare our kids as best we can for any game that we're going into. And going into Cal and Stanford, we knew that they're going to be tough opponents, especially when you play them on the road. They're ranked in the top 20, top 10 in Stanford's case, and so we just try and figure out ways to take some certain things away from those teams when we go into each and every game. And you know, we did some different things defensively with each team, but really we're better as a team than we are individually, and I think any coach will say that. But in our case, we definitely need all five clicking on each cylinder in order for us to be successful, and we did do that in certain spurts this past weekend. You
know, we were getting scores handed to us at Gill during the course of the men's game against Cal, and one that I saw said something like 59-42, California, or 49-32 at one point early in the second half, and I kind of gave it, not on the air, but just I looked at that and said, uh-oh, that's a tough one. The next score I was handed said something like 55-52. You guys were right back in it. So tell us about, when you talk about playing well in spurts, what happened in that stretch?
Well, the last 10 minutes actually of that game, we just, decided that we're still in this game no matter what the score is. We're just going to keep fighting and keep plugging away at it, and our kids really did step up. And 3 minutes into the game, we lose our starting, senior player in Casey Nash to fouls. She goes out for the rest of the game, and we end the game with 4 freshmen and a sophomore. And we come away with a 6-point loss in that game. And so, as a staff, we look at that and say, well, definitely some good things that happened during that game. Ended the game with a young group in there, even though we'd have liked to have Casey in there at the end. But, we did some nice things, and we're still in a position to win. We just couldn't nail it down in the end.
When Casey, when you have depth challenges, and Casey's, I don't have the number in front of me, but I know that there have been some situations at the end of games where she has fouled out. She plays so hard. She's such an integral part of what you do offensively and defensively, too. Are the fouls, is there anything she can do or needs to do to make sure she's on the court at the end of the game, or is that just a function of it happens, and that's, she's not doing anything technically wrong per se, it's just the way the game unfolds?
I think we just, ultimately she just needs to play. Bottom line, she just needs to play and not worry about things that are out of our control. And that's really, what it comes down to. And, just keep trying to give those younger players on our team the leadership that she's been giving them all season, and things will work out fine.
Yeah. Casey's still leading the Pac-10 in scoring, averaging over 20 points per game. 2 Civil War games coming up this week, and we'll talk about the challenges ahead Wednesday night in Eugene, Sunday night here. But we also still want to talk about a great first half against one of the country's best teams in Palo Alto. We'll talk about that as we continue with Coach Reinking. Beaver Sports Talk from McMenamin's on Monroe. Quick break on the Beaver Sports Network.
Here's this. Go ahead.
Welcome back, Beaver Sports Talk along the Beaver Sports Radio Network. Great to have you with us. We invite you to join us Thursday night from Pullman, OSU men's basketball. The Beavers in Washington State, pregame 6:30, 7:05 tip. The OSU women's basketball team tomorrow night in Eugene, 6:45 on many of our network stations. And then Sunday night, 5:30, Civil War basketball at Gill Coliseum. And before we talk about those two huge games coming up and so big, any Civil War game in any competition is gigantic for both universities, clearly. We'll talk about that with Coach Reinking in a moment. But before we leave off the weekend in the Bay Area, you're up 11 on the road at the number 9 team in the country's house at halftime, 34-23, against a team that had won 49 consecutive games in the conference in their own building. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. You take it each possession at a time, but up 11 at Stanford's pretty good. You guys really played some great basketball there, huh?
Well, we did, and we knew that in that second half that Stanford was going to come out and just take it right at us. And we had to be prepared for that, and we knew that was something that they would do. But we did do a great job towards the end of that first half and going on a run and going back up, because we were down in the first half a little bit and went on a run towards the end there and got us in a position to be up at the half. And actually we almost were up by 14. Ashley Allen threw up a half-court shot and almost went in, so that would have been nice to have as well. But, coming back in the second half, we knew that they would make their runs, and we knew that we had to try and limit their chances on the boards, and we just didn't do a great job of that in the second half, and that was something that really hurt us because they were getting multiple looks at the basket if they missed their first one. And then some transition points also that they got that we just didn't get back defensively.
In the stretch where you were building the lead and finishing the run so well, as coaches, as players, do you take that stretch of ball and say, this is who we can be, this is what we're capable of? You focus more on the stuff in the second half so as to not, let it happen again? Or is it a combination of both coming out of that game?
Coming out of that game, there's certainly things that we continue to focus on, and one of the things that we have focused on the past couple days in practice is obviously rebounding. Just trying to continue to tell our players that when we do play together as a team, we are a very good basketball team. And, we saw that in that first half against Stanford, and even in the second half. Even in the second half, we still were in positions to score and to cut down into that lead, which we did at times. So hopefully, our players are beginning to understand really how good that we can be when we do play as a team, and not necessarily in the wins and losses, but just that we compete every single night and compete on every single possession.
Is rebounding, it's fun when I get a chance, and I'm looking forward to being able to see Sunday's game in person at Gill at 5:30. We'll be back from our trip to the state of Washington. But can rebounding be a matter of just out-hustling, out-working an opponent, even if they have some physical advantages? Can you, through technique, through hustle, get the rebound instead of the other guy? Is that what you teach, and you have to teach against a Stanford, or let's say?
Well, we have to teach because we're not going to grow 5 inches overnight, but
right.
But that's something that we do try and emphasize, and with the number of kids that we have, and just keep plugging away at it and really keep trying to put a body on them. That's something that we're going to continue to try and do as the season plays out.
Is it a matter of recognition, weak side stuff? Do people get unblocked out sometimes because you lose track of where you're supposed to be, or did you find that Stanford just beat you physically at times Saturday?
I think we just have to really, as a team, communicate, and which we do a pretty good job of that. But just as a consistent, possession by possession, communicate both defensively and offensively, whether it's the defensive boards or the offensive boards. We ultimately we'd like to get both ends of the floor and be up in that category. But it's just a lot of hard work and a lot of hustle. And, we do try and come up with those balls, and sometimes they just don't go our way.
That does happen in life, too, that's for sure. We'll take a break and talk about the Civil War games tomorrow night in Eugene, Sunday night in Corvallis. We'll talk to Coach Reinking about the challenge ahead in the Civil War presented by your Northwest Dodge dealers. More coming up on Beaver Sports Talk after a quick break on the Beaver Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to Beaver Sports Talk. Our last couple of minutes with OSU women's basketball assistant coach Krista Reinking. We've already talked to Coach Lloyd and to Jeremy Larson earlier. 2 Civil War games in 1 week, Krista. You know, the games are intense enough. You get 2 back-to-back, essentially. Tomorrow night in Eugene, Sunday back home. I mean, Civil War games always bring out tremendous intensity, don't they?
They do. You know, last year was our first year of being a part of that, and we had 2 great games. Started out the series with them at home here at Gill Coliseum, and ended up winning that in the last-second scenario, and then had to go down there to Matt Court after that. 4 days later, and again was another close game. So it's definitely going to be an intense rivalry, intense competition between both teams, and we're looking forward to it. And we're just going to try and come out and play as best we can. They're a very good 3-point shooting team, so we know we're going to have to limit their looks at the 3-point shot, and meaning there's going to be some long rebounds if we do limit those looks and they don't connect on those 3-pointers. So that's something we've been practicing on the past couple days, and really they do a good job of getting up and down the floor in transition as well. So a couple of things that we've been focusing on in practice, but we're looking forward to it, and it's going to be hopefully a couple great games. Coach,
when your team has done such a great job, you and your staff since you got here, taking each practice, each segment of practice, you don't look too far ahead or behind, you just take what's up next. In a Civil War game and a rivalry game, do you feel like that's true, but can you feel even a little bit extra energy being applied getting ready for it?
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's a Civil War, and this is, the biggest rivalry that we have in our schedule, and so our kids are definitely up for it and looking forward to playing them. And it's just an interesting scenario where we have them twice in 1 week, but we went through that last year, and we're looking forward to it again this year.
And Sunday night, when you get the crowd behind you, that helps everybody out too, right?
Exactly. So hopefully we'll get that crowd at 5:30 on Sunday night, and
Very
looking
good.
forward to a good game.
Good luck this week, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
You.
Krista Reinking on Beaver Sports Talk tomorrow night in Eugene, 6:45 pregame, and then Sunday, 5:15 and 5:30. Hope to see you all at Gill Coliseum. Talk to you Thursday night from Pullman. Thanks for joining us on the Beaver Sports Radio Network.